Hello, I'm Douglas Ruhren, garden curator at Plant Delights Nursery and Juniper Level Botanic Garden. Today we're going to talk about planting peonies. I'm holding here a plant of a lovely peony cultivar, America. Peonies are classic parts of the spring garden with their huge and often fragrant flowers. One of the things that's really exciting to me, having grown up with peonies that always flopped over, is that a lot of new cultivars are ones that stand up without staking. And America is one that is good at standing up without assistance. So let's knock her out of the pot, see what we have. This hasn't been potted terribly long, and so happy to have the soil fall away from the roots. Peonies have very large main roots. This is a young plant. I remember digging up my grandfather's peonies after he died that had been planted for probably about 40 years. And the roots were probably a good inch in diameter and probably about 2 feet long. And there is this old wives' tale that peonies don't tolerate being transplanted. That's absolutely not true. They're very tolerant of being transplanted. Now, if you're new to peonies, you might get worried when you see these big red buds, but they're present all winter long, and they will just rest at ground level until spring comes. This is a herbaceous peony. We have three classes of peonies: the herbaceous ones, meaning ones that lack permanent stems, and then tree peonies that are small shrubs with stems that live from year to year. And these modern hybrids between the two groups, and those hybrids are called the intersectional ones, and we'll meet one in a little while. And the intersectional hybrids are sort of halfway between these herbaceous ones and the woody ones. But the herbaceous ones, it doesn't matter too much whether the roots are what orientation you put the roots. If this had a great big root system and my soil was heavy and I didn't want to dig down 2 feet to accommodate the big root systems, they can be planted horizontally. And it looks like this is the way this one was growing anyway. But the important thing with the peonies is you don't bury the buds. They should be peaking above ground, which is the way they normally grow. Make sure when you plant them in the garden that they're not somewhere where they're going to get stepped on, because they are fairly fragile if, large person, an adult person stands on them. So the buds should be right at just poking above ground, and they don't need any protection from cold. We're here in zone 7. It was 22 degrees this morning, and in this area, frost never penetrates the ground very far. So we plant all winter long, these hardy things. And peonies, as I said, will not be affected by the coldest weather we have, because these are winter hardy, all throughout northern United States up into Canada without any protection. This soil is moist and fairly heavy. I probably would go ahead and water it just to settle the soil around it, but this time of year it probably won't need to be watered again through the rest of the winter. And they should take off. Peonies properly sited in a sunny location with good soil that doesn't stay soggy in a wet spell, generally should get better every year. They only put up growth once in the spring, but with good care, that foliage will be packing a lot of food away in the root system. So the following spring, the plant will come back much bigger than it did the year before. And generally, they're permanent in the garden. As I said, I transplanted my grandfather's ones that were already about 40 years old. I no longer have them because they were left behind in another garden. Now, I don't have an example of a tree peony to show you. This is one of the hybrids that are hybrids between the herbaceous and the woody peonies, the tree peonies. And, I said that they're referred to as the intersectional hybrids. And they are sort of halfway in between. They don't generally die to the ground, but they die back most of the way to the ground. So these are woody stems from this current year. They've died back now at the end of the growing season, but you can see they have some buds coming up from ground level, but they also have buds on the woody stems. So in the fall, when it's time to cut them back, when frost has cut back, killed the summer's foliage, just look for these big buds and just cut down to them. The stems up above this point were dead at that point, which is just the natural growth habit of the plant. So because they have woody stems above ground with buds, we don't plant these deeper than they're growing at this point. You just keep the woody stems above ground, just as if you were planting a crepe myrtle or a spirea or something. This is an incredibly gorgeous cultivar in the intersectional hybrids called Bartzilla, with huge yellow flowers. And have experience with quite a few different intersectional hybrids, and they all, can't think of a single one that didn't do a good job of standing up and holding the flowers up nicely. Some of the really old tree peonies have huge flowers that tend to flop over. I'm really pleased that these modern intersectional hybrids display their flowers so well. I hope you will feel a little bit more comfortable about planting a peony. There's nothing really tricky about it. Just remember the beautiful red buds should be poking above ground. And remember that the intersectional hybrids have woody stems above ground, so be careful when you're cutting them back. And then don't plant the stems underground. So with proper planting and good siting, these should be a permanent part of your gardens and give you great joy every spring when they bloom.